UFC Fight Night Brunson versus Shahbazyan is coming up on Saturday. This is a 5-card main event, so we'll go over the 5 fights on it. Some good ones, some hard ones to call. But here's my predictions. The first fight on the main card is a middleweight bout between Holland and Trevin Giles. It should be a good one. I'm excited about this one. But for the sake of predictions, I'm going to go Holland. Giles has impressed at times, but I found him to be a little inconsistent at other times. To me, one of Giles' biggest knocks is that he seems to suffer from cardio, especially in the third round. And I think that Holland's the kind of person who can really pick you apart once you get tired. Holland is a much rangier and longer fighter. He is 6'3", where Giles is 6 foot. Both pretty big guys, but Holland also has a 7-inch reach advantage, and he knows how to use it. Holland has also shown a very good chin, so whenever you're able to get close to him, he's been pretty tough. He was able to take all those strikes from Thiago Santos way back in the day and wasn't able to get put out of there. So I think that if Giles is able to close the distance, he's not going to do a lot of damage, but I think he's going to have a pretty hard time closing that distance. You know, they're both pretty good strikers, but Holland seems to be, to me, a little more fluid and creative. And his strikes, they're just harder to see coming. They come from more unique places and really just more places in general. So I look for Holland to keep Giles at the end of his punches and kicks, keep that distance, and be able to take the victory. Second fight on the main card, Lando Vannata versus Bobby Green in a lightweight bout. This is a rematch of a very entertaining, very close fight. One that Lando, now it was a draw, but Lando kind of won, I guess, because in the first round he landed an illegal knee, which did some damage and got a point deducted. Yeah, it's hard to say that he won the fight because it was a draw, but that point deduction made that first round even. So I guess if you're looking at it through those types of lenses, Lando won 2 rounds to 1. And I see this one kind of going similarly, minus the illegal knee. I'm calling Lando in this one too. Neither of these guys really have great records over the last few years. Let's go back to 2016 when Lando entered the UFC. He is 3-4-2 in that time, so not a winning record. Since that time, Green's UFC record is 2-4-1, so even worse. Now they both fought some pretty good guys, but in my opinion, Bobby Green's best days are behind him. His best competition is behind him. There was a time, 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, where he competed against, and this is sequentially, he fought against Josh Thompson, Edson Barboza, Dustin Poirier, and then Magomedov. All 4, top competition. But ever since then, and he beat Thompson, he lost those other 3. Ever since that time, his competition has just been against lesser opponents, and he's still been unable to get them out of there. Most recently being Clay Guida, an old Clay Guida, and he was unable to finish the fight. In fact, Bobby's last finish was back in November of 2013, nearly 7 years ago against James Krause. So I don't see him being able to finish this fight. Lando, on the other hand, I like Lando. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's very creative. He appears to have fun in there, and I feel like he's best when he's creative and having fun in there. I think he's going to go in there hungry and ready to put on a show. Bobby, I just saw a video recently about Bobby Green saying he just got paid. He got the amount of money he wants, and he's happy. Happy fighters aren't good fighters. I think that he's going to come in there a little less hungry than he should, and I think Lando gets him. Third fight on the card is a welterweight bout between Vincente Luque and Randy Brown, and man, I'm excited about this one. I really enjoy both of these fighters. I think they both kind of got the formula to be a contender in the future. They're both staying pretty active in the UFC, and they're both good in a lot of places. They fight in a very stacked division, but I could see either one of these guys, especially Luque, emerging as a contender within a year or so. That said, I'm picking Vincente to win this fight. Vincente is just, man, he's a tough guy, and he just really checks all the boxes. In the UFC, he's 11-3, and all his UFC losses have been by decision. He's a very hard guy to get out of there, and he's never even been knocked out. Now, he has 11 wins in the UFC, and 10 of those have been finishes, 3 of which have been chokes, 1 an anaconda choke, 2 Darce chokes. He's had 6 KOs or TKOs, and then 1 doctor stoppage. Now, that one fight that went to decision, you may remember, was against Mike Perry, where Vincente just messed him up. He had his face all sorts of rearranged. He's not an easy out. He's going to hit you. He's going to hit you hard. And his losses, those 3 losses, came against some really good competition. So it's going to be a tough night out for Randy. Randy is 6-3 in the UFC. He has 4 finishes. And all of his losses also come against good competition, but not the likes of Luque's opposition. Now, Randy is a good wrestler, a very good wrestler, and this is probably the part of the fight game that he's better than Luque at. But Randy seems to be another one of these wrestlers who has fallen in love with his hands, who's hit somebody hard enough one too many times and now just wants to do that all the time. And I'm not going to blame him for it. I prefer to watch that type of fight. But I do think that he's just good enough with his hands to feel like he can stand with Vincente. And it's not going to be a good idea. I think that Luque hits super hard and he's going to connect a few times. And I would say that Vincente wins this one by KO. The co-main event in the women's flyweight division is Joanne Calderwood versus Jennifer Maia. This one should be pretty close on paper. It appears to be close. Something interesting here is that Joanne appeared to be getting the next title shot, against Shevchenko, but Shevchenko got injured, had to pull out, and Joanne says, okay, I'll fight Jennifer Maia. So respect, Joanne, for not sitting out and waiting your turn, for staying active and getting in there. But you got to say, why do you want to take this fight? Does Joanne see something that makes this a fight she should win? I got to say, I agree. I'm calling Joanne here. We know Joanne's a kickboxer, and she often targets the legs, and that's going to make wrestling very hard for Maia. I think that Joanne's going to take her legs away and make this a striking competition. And if it is, I think it's going to be a pretty easy out for Joanne. I think that her striking very much outclasses Maia's. So I think she's going to look to keep her standing by using those kicks and just outclass her on the feet. Now, something I've heard a lot of people talking about this fight is that Joanne has got some ring rust. And will this be a factor? She's been out for a long time. So I feel like I need to point out here, Joanne hasn't been gone that long, and especially not when compared to Maia. Not that long. Joanne's last fight was September of last year, and Maia's was November of last year. So she's only been out for a few months longer. I don't think that's going to be a big factor. What we do know about these two girls is that they're both tough, and they have very impressive records. They both know what it's like to be in the main show. They've both fought and lost to and defeated former title challengers, title holders. They know what it's like to be in there against top-ranked and legit competitions that share the spotlight. I don't think ring rust is going to be an issue, but I do think that Maia kind of offers the fight that Joanne wants, the fight that she can use to tune herself up, to boost her reputation for that Shevchenko shot, next. The main card on this event is, of course, Brunson versus Edmen Shahbazyan. Now, a lot of people have been calling Brunson a gatekeeper, and at 36 years old, he kind of appears to be. He's lost only to top-ranked guys in Yoel Romero, Robert Whitaker, Anderson Silva, Jacare Souza, and the champ Israel Adesanya. It's kind of the definition of a gatekeeper. That said, this is Edmen's big chance, right, to get through that gate. Edmen is, he's really just getting started at 22 years old, and truthfully, he's already got some pretty good miles on him, although his competition hasn't been elite. But he is 11-0, so he knows what it's like to fight. But Brunson is definitely Edmen's hardest fight to date. But I'm still going to go Shahbazyan. I believe in the hype, man. I think he's the real deal. Experience here is probably Brunson's biggest advantage. But we got to keep in mind this is a 3-round main event. We're not going 5 rounds. If it were, I think that would favor Brunson, but I don't see it going 3 rounds. I don't see it going 5 rounds. And why I say that is because Brunson is a very hittable fighter. He hasn't shown a lot of durability either. And I think Edmen's going to hit him, and I think he's going to hit him often. Edmen's a great striker. He's clever with his strikes. He switches stances often, keeping his opponent confused. He camouflages his strikes behind other techniques. And, he throws combinations, and he's super aggressive. Now, Brunson also has good strikes, and he's willing to take one to give one. And we haven't gotten a chance to see how good Edmen's chin is, so maybe Brunson pops him with a few, and that's the end of the night. I just don't see it that way. I think it's more likely Shahbazyan hurts him. Brunson reaches for that takedown like he does sometimes, and it's probably going to be a bad idea. As stated, Shahbazyan's clever. He can adapt on the fly. If Brunson starts to reach for a takedown, Edmen's going to throw some knees, some kicks. He's going to throw something right up the middle. It's going to find home. I'm going Shahbazyan KO. So as said, all these main card fights are very close, and I could see any of them going the other way. But I have cast my vote for only favorites on all 5 fights. That might be a little cheap. So I'll give you one more that is for the underdog, and that is Ed Herman versus Gerald Meerschaert. Herman's the underdog, and I think he's going to take this one. I love Ed Herman. I've loved that guy ever since he got pissed at Tito for not picking him back on Tough 3. Now, Ed is 39 years old, the old guy, but he's so clever, so tricky, and so hard-nosed. I think that Meerschaert's kind of a perfect fight for him. I think that anything that Gerald throws at him, Ed's going to have something for him, whether it's standing up, whether it goes to the ground. And I see Ed somehow pulling this one off, most likely by choking Gerald out. So there's my predictions for UFC Fight Night, Brunson versus Shahbazyan. Should be a very good night of fights, a very even night of fights, and I can't wait to watch it. Afterwards, we'll do a recap of the winners and losers, see how right my predictions were. So until then.